This is the new Starlink Performance Gen 3 dish. It's completely redesigned. There's quite a bit to it. 3 boxes worth. Come along with us, I'll tell you all about it. Hey folks, Erik with MobileMustHave.com, and thanks for joining us on the new Starlink Performance Gen 3. And this dish is a complete redesign pretty much from the ground up since the last dishes that were revamped. The standard Gen 3 dish and the original high performance fixed mount dish that has kind of been the mainstay if you're looking for the highest end possible dish with the best performance. So this dish is going to be replacing the Starlink high performance fixed mount, or the Performance Gen 2, as a lot of people referred to it. And it's basically become their flagship device. For those of you that don't know who MobileMustHave is, I'll tell you really quick. We are a Peplink and Starlink authorized alliance solutions provider. That means on the Peplink side, we're a platinum solutions provider, and we also have relationships with Starlink, so we're fully authorized to sell everything that we talk about today. We also stock all of this gear in-house, so if you're looking at a Starlink solution or something that we talk about today, and you hop over to our listing page, you'll see there that it's in stock, and you'll see that it ships same day. You can always check on the listing page. Obviously, things can change, but if we say it's in stock, that is not fake. It's ready to go, and you will get tracking same day as long as you place your order by 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to go ahead and put chapter links below in this video so you can skip around and find the parts that are most interesting to you. We're going to spend time talking about the overview of the dish, some information about stuff that I think mobile customers in the marine and RV space will care about, mainly the upgraded power supply and what that means for you. Spend some time on connectors, cabling, and things of that nature, and then talk to you a bit about how you can pair this with an advanced mobile router solution to give you the best possible mobile internet solution. Moving on to unboxing, what you see here is basically what comes in those various boxes. So you get your Starlink Performance Gen 3 dish, which we'll go into a little bit in a minute. You get your power supply. Now, this is one of the coolest things about this kit so far. This is an AC and DC input power supply. We'll talk about that in a minute, but the high level wave tops is you can put 120 or 240 volt AC power into this, or you can put in 12 up to 56 volt DC power direct from a battery bank into this. So that's a big change from what we've seen in the past. We'll talk about that in a minute. All right, we've got our 25 meter cable that's included. There are optional length cables as well, but this is going to get you down from the dish to the power supply. I like the 25 meter cable solution. It's a nice blend kind of right in the middle where you don't get too much cable, but you have enough for marine installations, and RV it's a little bit too much, but you can typically wind that up, or if you want, there are ways to custom terminate these cables as well. Next, we've got 2 power input cables. Either on the AC side, you get a standard, at least in the US, NEMA plug that just kind of gives you your regular wall plug for your 120 volt applications. Again, this will take a 240 as well, and you could use a kind of a standard international adapter if you needed that. The power supply will auto switch, or you get the DC side of this. We'll talk about what connectors are on this in a minute. It's got a convenient connector here, which allows you to use some portable battery banks, which is interesting. And you would use one or the other of these cables. So you'd either, if you're on the AC side, you'd use this cable. If you're on the DC side, 12 to 56 volts, you would use this cable. You've got yourself a 5 meter Ethernet cable here that's going to go from your power supply into your mobile router. So this would either plug directly into the Starlink router if you were looking to keep it simple and kind of go with a entry-level router that's going to be pretty limited to just allowing you to access Starlink, or the same cable would allow you to use your own third-party router. So in the event of using like a peplink device, like what we recommend, that would give you the ability to fully manage and control the Starlink, see all of the Starlink obstruction and statistical information through that router, through peplinks at least, and then also manage external connections, Wi-Fi as WAN, cellular, another Starlink, combine multiple dishes, etc. Quite a bit you can do with an advanced mobile router, which we'll talk about down a bit. Next, moving on, you get your wedge mount kit. There's 2 of these big bad boys in the kit, which we'll go into in a little bit. And then again, the optional Starlink router if that's something that you're interested in picking up. At the time of filming of this, those routers are actually complementary to this kit upon request. We just ask folks that if you're really not going to use the router, don't request it, but we do have them available if that's something that you want, and it's not going to increase the price of the kit. Last, we've got some mounting hardware. These are all the mounting accessories and screws for the wedge mount kit, and then there's a bag here that is for mounting the power supply. As with all Starlink kits, they're pretty minimalist, right? So you usually get this or some form of this, which is just a pictorial diagram of kind of the basic wiring and setup instructions, kind of highly encouraging you to go to the app to get everything finalized and up and running. But you get one of these, both with your mount and with the dish itself. This covers the wiring, and the quick start instructions for the mount cover the mount, and also on the reverse side of that, it's a template for how to line up the screws to get that mounted. All right, so let me try to clear some of this away a little bit so we can talk through what we've got going on here. I'll start with the dish and kind of a summary of what I think here. So I've always been concerned about the fact that Starlink dishes, kind of out of their inception, and almost everything I've seen to date appears to have been something that was really designed for residential use or fixed mount use that was sort of adapted to mobility use. This is the first dish I've seen that Starlink has put together a package for where I think that they're really focused on mobility and rugged environments, and they've really taken the feedback seriously from their customers to understand that things change quite a bit when you're in a mobile environment. One of the first things that I'll show you is the back here. And if that looks like metal, it actually is. It sort of feels like plastic a little bit, but this is an aluminum enclosure from the best of what I can tell. And it kind of covers all the way up to this front edge, giving you a really nice fit and finish. And it's kind of the first dish I've ever felt like really feels like high quality, if there's another way to put it. It's not light, although believe it or not, it is lighter than the Gen 2 dish. When I picked it up, I was like, this is the heaviest Starlink I've ever picked up. It comes in at around 12 pounds. It's like 11 pounds, 8 ounces or something like that. We'll give you links to how you can check out our full Gear Center entry at the Mobile Internet Resource Center with our partners Chris and Cherie over there and the rest of the team at the Mobile Internet Resource Center. If you don't know, that's part of our membership, and you receive quite a few benefits as part of our membership, so you can check that out at membership.mobilemusthave.com. I'll go through that a little bit later. But if you're looking for specs, we'll have some in the listing page, but our friends over at the Mobile Internet Resource Center will dive really deep into some of the more geeky stuff around, max download speeds and all those things. But this dish is kind of the first dish that is touting support for the next generation Starlink constellation technology that is not yet online or available. But the point being that you're sort of future-proofing yourself, or at least they're claiming you're future-proofing yourself, to have a theoretical max download speed with this device of up to 1 gigabit, which is pretty interesting. You could potentially start to see speeds similar to kind of like your more current or advanced 5G speeds that we're seeing right now. But you're getting the latest and greatest technology, and you're getting the metal enclosure, and you're getting an IP67, I believe I'll put it right there, but IP67K rating, which means that the dish can essentially be submerged to a degree, obviously. I think it's like 1 meter for up to 30 minutes. I don't think you'd ever submerge your dish, but it is kind of a testament or a bunch of information about what Starlink has done on the testing to show you kind of what they want to see this thing be able to handle from an environmental perspective. Now, I personally didn't see really any issues with the Starlink Gen 2 high performance from a water situation where someone had a dish damaged by water. But our friends Chris and Cherie, who were using it on a boat, had the first generation one fail on them. So that was kind of their only experience with the dish, was it worked for like a month and failed. So I know that people have had those issues. But what they've done is they've really kind of revamped this initial or this dish plug that you can see here. And I'll give you a close-up of that. And it's become a locking plug that's going to keep dust, debris, and water out by giving it the ability to kind of lock into place quite easily. I'll show you kind of what it looks like when it's plugging in and locking. And that's what, along with the overall build quality improvements, allows it to get that IP67 rating. In terms of size, the dish has kind of adapted the rectangular size pattern that has been common in the standard Gen 3 dish. So here's a standard Gen 3 dish, and there's the performance. And you can see that it is bigger, but it's not that much bigger. The Gen 2 was more of a square design footprint. I'll see if I can get a picture of our roof on one of our vehicles to show you kind of what the Gen 2 looked like. And you can kind of compare that. But the Performance Gen 3 has adapted that rectangular configuration. But for those that have the Gen 2 and are looking to upgrade, the fixed mount, high performance Gen 2 and are looking to upgrade, one thing they've done, which is nice, is they've actually made the bolt pattern here that's underneath the wedge mount the same bolt pattern as the Gen 2 dish. So if you've already drilled holes in the roof and you're looking to upgrade to this dish, you can reuse those same holes. That's a nice touch, just to consider from a mounting perspective. In terms of how these mounts work, just giving you kind of a high-level overview. Again, there are different mounts, but I'll just kind of cover this mount because I think it's going to work for the vast majority of folks that are looking for mobility installations. This is basically what you're up against. So you've got screws that are going to come in down and attach directly to the dish, and then this aspect is going to go directly down into your mounting subsurface, which, you know, they're saying you should have at least 3/4 of an inch of kind of mounting surface to lock into. And I was like, how is this going to work if there's no holes up here? And I kind of realized what they were doing is they've actually kind of created this little access port here. And the design or the concept is that you sort of pre-install the mounting hole points to your roof, and then this would go on and kind of click in or slide in. There's little V channels here on the mounts that would adapt to the mounting kit that they include. You'd slide that in, and then you'd have to kind of come in here with a ratchet and tighten everything up. So what I like is that that's on the outside, and you're not going to be ratcheting from the inside of this mount once it's on your roof. What I don't like is it's all kind of, in my opinion, over-engineered a little bit to look cool. But that's okay, you know. But I think when I'm up there and I'm on a roof and I'm sweating and I've got to have a ratchet and I'm going in from the side because they didn't want to just let me use my impact drill and get it installed quickly, it probably might be a little bit frustrating. But what's the trade-off? This is a metal mount. It looks like it's all aluminum. It's going to have some pretty significant weather resistance and durability. It looks like powder-coated aluminum. And I mean, they're claiming this thing has wind resistance up to 170 miles an hour, like hurricane speeds. I hope you're not anywhere where you have those kind of wind speeds for this dish. I think this dish will be the least of your problems if that's occurring. But it gives you a testament to kind of SpaceX's crazy testing and over-engineering aspect of what they've built here. And you feel it. It reflects it in the quality of this dish for the first time, in my opinion. All right, so let's move on to the power supply. And I've removed the pre-installed little weather plugs that come with this, but they do have weather plugs. So if you're not going to use all of these plugs for whatever reason, you'll have a blank here that can be put in the place of anything that's missing. I'll just go ahead and reinstall the AC power plug here to give you an example of what that looks like. So let's go through what you see right here. Starlink's kind of famous for not having really much of any indicator lights, but they do give us a single status LED light, and that will give us some minor indication about whether or not the dish is online and whether or not the power supply is online. So that's nice to see. And then kind of going left to right, we have our AC input power port right here. It's using like a standard power plug that you would see in like the back of a computer. I don't off the top of my head remember the NEMA specifications of that, but that's a standard power input plug. Then you've got your DC power input here. And I always forget what this connector is called. It's an XT60 connector. That's what you've got here. And we'll keep going and then I'll go back to that. Next, you've got your Ethernet port here. It's using the same weather resistant Ethernet ports that you saw on the Starlink Gen 3 dishes. And then you've got the same Ethernet here. The difference between these two is one of these is designed to go out to your router and the one on the end is designed to go out to the dish. So this is your LAN side, this is your WAN side of the power supply. And all of that operates in this nice little kind of handy sized power supply. This thing's heavy, it's very heavy, but it's UL listed and it's not bad, it's nice. What I really like about this power supply is this mount. There's these positive locking, which you could turn once you pull them out, twist them, and then that is how you get access to this, which is how you would wall mount the device. And the concept there is you screw this to the wall or wherever you're going to mount it, and then you pop this in after the fact. There's space for your cables to come out, and then you would twist your locking pins until they lock into place, and then you're secured without having to worry about this coming off the wall. Going back to the XT60 plug, this guy right here, let's unwind this cable and I'll show you the connector here with a little bit of a close-up. It looks a lot like, well, it is basically the same cable you have on like the back of your cable box. But this cable has basically been adopted by portable solar companies and portable battery companies that wanted to have a plug that they could create some weather resistant aspect to, because it would be outside with those sort of foldable portable solar panels, and they've adapted that to be kind of a DC standard. So what's I think why Starlink has adopted that is, one, it's polarized, so there's a flat end versus a round end, so you can't mix up your positive and negative connections, and B, a lot of these small portable battery banks have this plug on the front of it. You know, whether you're looking at your, I don't know. There's so many companies who make those portable little power stations, or they come bundled in kits that have those rollout solar panels. And then they all have, a lot of them have a DC input plug on the front, and that's what this is for. And the standard on the XT60, sort of the minimum that I see for that plug is typically 14 gauge wire, which should be able to carry the current of this dish, but it would be kind of on the, but you can definitely get 12 gauge or even 10 gauge adapters for that. So from what I can tell, this feels like probably a 12 in here. We can, look that up, or I'm sure that's on the Starlink specifications. And if you look on the documentation tab of our listing page, we have all of the information, PDFs and whatnot for specifications, as well as if you hop over to the Mobile Internet Resource Center and our Gear Center, we've got even more deep dives where we've taken some of this stuff apart. But the point being, for the average person who wants to direct DC wireless, you're probably going to have to cut this cable, or you're going to have to invest in some XT60 male connectors and try to get those in 10 gauge or 12 gauge at the smallest, and always remember to fuse your wires. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. You could use one of our like 6-port fuse blocks and fuse this up. In terms of power, you're talking about a power supply that has like a 400-watt max power consumption. And no, I don't think the dish is going to use that much. It's a relatively new product, so I don't see a lot of big testing data on that, but we'll definitely start putting that up in our Mobile Internet Resource Center guides. But with the advanced snow melting features of this dish, that's where you're going to see some of that added power consumption. So again, make sure if you're going to use on the DC side to just fuse accordingly. And if you don't know how to do that, take 400 watts, divide it by the voltage of your battery, so 12 volts, and that equals the size in amps of your fuse. It changes based on your voltage. So if you have a 24 volt or a 48 volt battery bank, you have to do that calculation. It's watts divided by volts, and that will give you your max amps at that voltage. That's what you want to fuse for. You can fuse up to 5 amps kind of higher than that max rating. Don't go any higher than that, or there's no point in having the fuse in the first place. So that's just some information that you can get from us on our Mobile Internet Resource Center and our Starlink support forums and other things. If you're looking to get one of these kits and you want some help through the installation process, it's a great reason to check out our memberships at membership.mobilemusthave.com. All right, so let's move on to the router, the optional router. We won't spend much time on this, but I'll just give you a quick overview so you understand what it is. This is the router that's in the Starlink Gen 3 sort of residential or consumer grade dish, and they're just really saying, hey, it'll work, it's something you can pair up with it, but it's really not designed, in my opinion, to be part of this more enterprise or performance solution. But just giving you a high level, you've got your Ethernet port here that goes up to the dish with the weatherproof sleeve on it, and that would work with the included cable here. You've got a DC 2.1 millimeter DC input here for powering the device, and an included power supply. And then under here, this little guy, you've got 2 Ethernet LAN ports. So you could technically wire up some additional devices or put this in bypass mode and connect another router. Why would you do that? You wouldn't, but it could be done. So anyway, very basic router with some Wi-Fi 6 technology in it. And if you're looking to use this as a standalone solution, that's a way to do it. Now, it's a funny conversation, and we see it on Facebook all the time when we do posts where people are frustrated with their Starlink or die hard about their Starlink and talk about how it works or doesn't work. And I think the simplest way to explain it is the way Starlink explains it, with pictures. They're very clear here, and I'll show you a picture of this boat and this house where they're essentially saying, don't install this where there's any level of potential obstruction. In this picture, they're showing it right on the front of a yacht, and they're saying, yeah, the cabin of the yacht is going to impact or hurt the performance of the dish. And as such, so will a tree or a RV potentially parked next to you if you don't have this fixed mounted in a higher location, or a building, or another boat, or a mast. There's quite a few things that will cause problems with Starlink. It is not something that simply just works as long as you can see a little bitty part of the sky. You really need to see all the sky. That's reflected in the app where it shows you what information is obstructed or what satellites are obstructed, and it's just the nature of the technology. If you want to give this dish the best possible chance of really realizing that investment and working all the time and everywhere, like I said, I really think you need to look at investing in a multi-WAN router. This is an example. This is the BR1 Pro 5G, and to give you an idea, like a bigger version of this by Peplink is running some Carnival cruise ships out there, some of the big ones that are docked and ported down in Miami. And we're talking about 9+ Starlinks and multiple 10+ 5G connections. All are being managed by our routers, not Starlink's routers. Starlink figured out kind of early on that they want to focus on the space stuff and they want to let Peplink focus on the router stuff. If you're talking about multi-WAN connectivity, where you want to combine multiple connections. So I'm not going to get into it super deep. We have a lot of separate videos, but I'll give you the high level of how this conceptually works for most of our customers if you're new to this channel. A device like this would become one of your internet connections. So you'd plug a Starlink into your Peplink Multi-Wan router. This device would show the Starlink up on the dashboard. I'll show you a picture here, and it would become one of your internet connections. In the case of this router, you would also have a latest generation 5G modem capable of 4 gigabits of max download speed. In reality, 500 megabits, significantly faster typically than what you'll see with the Starlink. And you're getting a device that has external antennas. In the case of what kind of comes in the box, these are 3 decibel antennas. So those are 100% more cell signal strength than what you would see with a cell phone. So if you're concerned, all the time I'm at rallies and I see people and they're like, I don't have cell service in that area, it's not going to work. And I go, just take it and try it. Go over there, try it. Let me see what happens. And they're like, they're both connected to Verizon. How come this device works? It's magic. And I'm like, no, it's called an antenna. Your phone doesn't really have one. It's built into a big metal box case and it's terrible at receiving signal. When you look at a device like this, 5G becomes massively national and it works where most people don't think it can. And why do you even care or need that if you're looking at a Starlink dish? This really struggles with obstructions. So, when our friends Chris at Cherie did a national tour, they actually took data points across the entire country. They said, look, we're not going to travel based on where our Starlink works. We're going to travel based on where we want to travel and where we want to park. And they have it's inside the Mobile Internet Resource Center. They have a whole statistical map where they show the Starlink really 30%, 40% of the time was able to be a connection that was usable. But because of tree coverage and because of obstructions, there were most of the times where they were relying on the 5G signal and coverage. Now that's not to say Starlink isn't necessary. This is my primary way of connecting when I'm on my property in New Hampshire, in rural New Hampshire, rural southern New Hampshire. That, and I use campground Wi-Fi, which I designed the campground Wi-Fi at my campground, so it's fast and I know how it works. But I can combine my Starlink with the campground Wi-Fi using technology that's built into this little guy called Speed Fusion. We have another video on kind of how that works. And that allows me to do my work calls, my Zoom calls, everything else. If all you're going to do is download Netflix, you can probably deal with the fact that there's 1 to 5% packet loss typically on the Starlink network, because Netflix will pre-download a lot of data for you. So as long as you have a marginally good connection, you might be okay. But if you've got to browse the internet, if you want to use FaceTime, if you want to do any type of real work applications, that 1% packet loss means that out of every 100 seconds, let's just say, you might lose 1 second of the internet, and that can make a Zoom call highly frustrating. So just be aware of that. I love Starlink for what it does. It's kicked butt and helped me in Quartzsite and all sorts of other places. Really, national parks is where I love it, or in like Los Angeles, or not Los Angeles, but in the kind of Arizona to Los Angeles kind of border areas where there's these valley towns where there's rivers and there's just mountains everywhere. Cellular just doesn't work there. It's one of the only places in the country I've been like, yeah, this really, cell doesn't work here. Starlink has kicked butt for me. So I love Starlink, but it's part of my total package of solutions. For most people, it's a multi-WAN router with a cellular LTE connection and it's Starlink. That's a really, really solid combination. What cellular plan should you look at for this device? Well, I don't know if you know, but we run our own wireless network called RoamLink Wireless. It's worth taking a look at. RoamLink gives you AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and US Cellular. It gives you priority access to all of those networks, and it gives you all the networks for one low price. With this device, you can go in, you can do a network scan, you can pick which carrier you want to connect to, or you can leave it on auto and it'll pick the carrier that has the strongest cell signal strength. So there's a ton of flexibility with RoamLink. You can check that out. We'll link to that as well. It's on the listing pages for everything, and it's a nice way to pair a 5G solution with Starlink to give you all the cellular networks plus Starlink. Now you're really in a position where you can travel and have the peace of mind that you're going to stay connected. With RoamLink, there are no contracts. It's all 30-day month to month, unless you pick a plan that I haven't invented yet that has a contract. Those are all going to be in the listing page descriptions. And I highly recommend, again, that you check out our team and talk to us. If you're not sure what you're looking at, we would be happy to help and tell you kind of what works, what doesn't, what we feel is a good fit and a solution for your needs. You could schedule a consultation at talk.mobilemusthave.com. I'll put a link for that right there. And you'll schedule a mutually agreed time to hop on a conference call with one of our experts. You can tell them what you're trying to accomplish. You can tell them what you're thinking about with the Starlink dish. You can tell them exactly what you're trying to see, and is it worth doing the performance, or should you just do the Gen 3? Maybe you're thinking about the Mini. We have them all, and we'll talk through it. We'll help you get sorted. So again, check that out at talk.mobilemusthave.com. And again, please check out our memberships at membership.mobilemustHave.com. Starlink doesn't allow us to discount these dishes at all. It's in our agreement, but you get pretty substantial discounts and upgraded 2-day shipping and a whole host of other benefits on kind of everything else in the store. So if you were looking at an advanced mobile router like this, it would typically pay for the membership fee in its first year. You get discounts on mobile internet data plans, monthly discounts, so your monthly bill goes down. You get access to the Mobile Internet Resource Center. You get upgraded 2-day shipping on devices that qualify, which is pretty much everything except for the Starlinks, because they weigh like 40 pounds and we can't ship them 2-day, unfortunately. But there's a whole host of benefits that you can see right there. So check it out at membership.mobilemusthave.com. And it also helps support a small business here in the USA. So we really appreciate it. All right, folks, thanks for joining me to talk about the overview here of the Starlink Performance Gen 3. I'm excited to get it installed on our Integra. We'll be doing some follow-up videos on kind of the installation of this and any considerations. We do a lot of swap out kits, so we've got some really cool roof entry, cable entry solutions that you may want to check out. So please, if you're interested, or this video was helpful, please like the video, please subscribe. We've got a lot of really cool content that's coming in the future. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you on the road.